I chose observational and vicarious learning in children from our annotated bibliography. The first article, Vicarious Learning and Reduction of Fear in Children via Adult and Child Models, aimed to study how children learn fear and behaviors by watching their parents. The hypothesis was to compare whether children learn their behaviors from the adults around them. The design was experimental, and the data collected by randomly picking children, placing them in 4 study groups. Researchers conducting this study also utilized animals to compare how they learn fear as children do to how human children do. Based on their findings, further research should have been done that could have shown why children chose to imitate their peers as teens rather than maintain the behavioral structure learned in their home. The article compared to past articles because past articles proved children mimic behaviors of adults and peers. The study was done with relevant examples due to results confirming previous findings. The second article chosen was based on whether the negative learned behaviors from parent to child resonated to childhood aggression and delinquency. The aim of the study was to see why children who were abused at home and witnessed abuse became aggressive and antisocial. The article was correlational because researchers analyzed several parent-child relationships which were 2 or more variables and their antisocial behaviors. The hypothesis was whether the behaviors of juvenile delinquents were the continued fears of families and society because of vicarious learning in the home. 3 variables were collected as data to explain factors of how parent-child relationships affected behavior analysis. Factor A, a torn family structure. Factor B was abusive discipline structure. And Factor C was how family relationships relate to childhood offending. Findings were the lower the value of the relationship, the higher the evidence the child offends. Based on their findings, there should have been further research of whether the parents endured a negative childhood growing up to determine whether their behaviors were observational as well. The final article I chose was to explain how children interact verbally. The aim was on how children listened and held conversations verbally with adults to understand their development. For children who were intrigued to listen and talk to others. 3 preschool children were utilized to observe on whether their parents' praises were the direct cause of how well or poor they done in school. The hypothesis was whether children's verbal behaviors were developed by adult attention as reinforcers of observational learning. The design was experimental, and the results were that kids did respond better to adult praises. Limitations were when the researchers concluded they should have utilized more than 3 children. The study was ethical and relevant. Those were the chosen studies that I chose to do my annotated bibliography on, because working in a system, in a prison system, I hear a lot of stories about what the inmates see as children and how they mimic the same behaviors, or how the behaviors force them to be offenders. With that being said, we have to look at where the behaviors start at, and the behaviors start at home. If we want our children to act respectfully, responsibly, and do well in life, we have to set the tone at home first. We cannot expect our children to go out and become great leaders if they're not learning it at home. However, there are some cases where children have this negative behavior they're witnessing at home, and they grow up to be good people because they choose not to be what they see. So when it comes to vicarious learning, it's kind of like a yes and a no, you know. It's all on. We can't blame our behaviors on the way we were raised. Psychology is the study of the mind and behaviors of animals and adults. So with that being said, we have to continue on this journey to make life better, and so we can continue to make psychology work in the manner in which it's designed to do. The study that I was most intrigued was the second one, to where children offend. And based on the findings of the second one, there should have been further research, because if a parent is raised in a negative behavior, that's evident that of their observational learning as well. So I hope this journey of mine proves and will prove that psychology works, and it needs a lot more study.